Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on how is your DDoS protection work. So in the last lecture we discussed about the DDoS protection working and we discussed about the various offerings we have in case of Azure, which was about the basic and the standard feature. So when we discuss about how actually the DDoS protection this working, so this particularly we are discussing with the standard plan, the feature we have in case of Azure. So before we dig further into this, we know that okay, when you enable the DDoS protection. Hello friends, so welcome to this lecture on how is your DDoS protection work. So in the last lecture we have discussed about the DDoS protection overview and the offerings in case of Azure. So in this particular lecture we'll discuss about the second offering, which is DDoS protection standard. So basic, which you get by default, but in case of standard you need to create a DDoS protection plan. You need to uh, check that okay, which with which VNet or particular subscription you need to create that DDoS protection, and you need to you know have that public IP on which you need to enable that particular service, because DDoS protection standard protects the various Azure resources. It could be your virtual machines, it could be your load balancer, and it could be your application gateway, basically those that have an Azure public IP assigned to it. Therefore, you can get that particular DDoS protection enabled onto that. So Azure DDoS protection standard basically monitors the actual traffic which is passed to that particular resource where you have enabled that DDoS protection, and it continuously monitors the traffic against a certain threshold which is defined in this particular DDoS protection policy. And you know, the one thing which I would like to clear over here is the first thing, you can modify this particular policy, but in general, this policy threshold which we are talking about here, which is defined in the DDoS protection policy, they are auto configured and via the Azure machine learning, basically learning based on the network based traffic profiling, and it sets a particular policy. Let's say if in a day, generally the traffic which pass through from that particular VNet or through for that particular resource, learned by this policy generation or through machine learning, that is 500. So in that case, so it will set a certain threshold around 500 MB, that okay, as soon as the traffic increases more than 500 MB, it generates an alert, or it will automatically initiate that okay, that there is a DDoS attack, and DDoS mitigation is automatically initiated, wherein o- it forwards the only the intended traffic to a particular resource. Rest DDoS protection basically block the traffic and forwards only the remaining genuine traffic to that particular IP address or to that particular resource. It could be your virtual machine or it could be your load balancer. And as soon as this particular the threshold is removed, or the traffic reached below that threshold, let's say now the traffic is below that 500 MB, automatically this DDoS mitigation is removed. During the mitigation, traffic which is sent to the protected resource, it could be your virtual machine or load balancer, is redirected by your DDoS protection service only. And there are several checks performed. It could be, like it ensures that okay, packet conform to internet specification, they are not malformed, they are not spoofed, and it does the rate limiting as well. Like we discussed, DDoS protection blocks attack traffic and forwards the remaining traffic to its intended destination, like your virtual machine or it could be your application. And within few minutes of detection, you are notified basically using the Azure monitor metrics. And you can also keep that data, basically Azure monitor keep that DDoS protection data for 30 days to, you can correlate or learn it for your future references. And like we discussed, basically that Azure standard protection plan automatically applies the three attuned mitigation policy is generally TCP SYN, TCP and UDP for each one of the public IP address of that particular protected resource. So this is how generally your DDoS protection work defined on the uh, DDoS protection policy. Generally set the threshold based on the data which is flowed or through the machine learning. You can also modify this policy, and there are several checks which you can modify related to your inbound TCP flow, inbound UDP packets, right? So there are different things you can do within this particular policy, and you can set the various kind of metrics which you want to set. So this is it, friends. In this lecture, we discussed about the Azure DDoS protection policy and how it is automatically initiated when that particular threshold is reached. So thank you, friends. Thank you for watching this lecture. Meet you in the next lecture. Thank you.